Hi everybody, this is section 9.2. We're going to continue on with the same stuff that we did in 9.1. You can see that we've got the three equations here with three variables. All right, we're still doing the same thing that we did in 9.1. We're going to eliminate some variables so that we can see what we've got. We're just going to do it differently this time. This is a matrice way of doing it. There's many different ways to do matrices. I'm going to show you what I think is the easiest way, and you can decide if you like this method or if you like the method in 9.1. Either one will work. So you have to kind of play around with both pieces and see which one you like better. 9.3, we're going to continue on with our matrices in a different way, but so you'll kind of get an idea of what a matrice is. So I'm not going to use a whole lot of MyMathLab. I'm going to do these first two and then the last one here. This one's a word problem, so I'll make sure to get to that one. But these are all done the same, so 3 and 4 are done exactly the same as 1 and 2. So you know, I'll give you a couple different examples, and then I think you should be good to go. You know, if yours are not working out and you're having trouble, you can always just replay these videos to see what's going on in here. You might have to play them more than once, and you know, hopefully some of you have used the tutoring center by now, and you know, you're well on your way here. This is not going to be an easy course to do online. So let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to rewrite this in matrice form. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the coefficients, or the numbers, in front of all of these letters and write those down, and I'm just going to disregard my x, y's, and z's for right now. Okay? So I am going to draw some sort of a box here, and I'm going to put the coefficients in here. I've got that written down. I'll go back to it so you can write it down as well, or you can replay it and see what they were before. I've got to have a big space here to do this. And these are long. These aren't any shorter than the other ones. So let's just get this set up first of all, and I'll kind of show you. I'll just move this down. Okay, and then I'll move it back up. So what I've done is my coefficient here is a 1, 2, 5, and 15. Okay, 1, 2, 5, and 15. So again, we're going to stack. I've got my x, y's, and z's stacked. I got my equal signs stacked, and I've got just my constants over to the right side. All right, and then I've got -1, 3, 3, -1. That's the second row. And then I've got 1, 1, -3, -7. I like to put a bar down here to show that this is my equal sign. These are my x's, my y's, my z's, and my constants. Okay, and whether you want to contain them in this bracket or not, that's up to you. That's how they do it. That's how I've always learned. So, you know, whatever you want to do there. Oh, I should probably get rid of this. Okay, so let's move this up so we can see what we got going on here. All right, rules of the game. Okay, we have 3 rows. I can do whatever I want to a row. So I can multiply or divide through by a number if I want to. Okay, so I could take this whole row and multiply every single number by 3 if I wanted to, but it has to be every single number. Another rule is I can add and subtract rows and replace any row with that answer. Okay, so for instance, I could add these 2 rows here and replace all of this entire row with the answer to the addition of those 2 rows. I can also swap rows. Okay, I can just flip-flop these rows, or these 2 rows. Okay, if it helps me. So those are kind of the rules of the game. The goal of the game is to get this corner, and I'm just going to, this corner right here, to all be zeros. Then I'm done. Okay, if this is a 0 and that's a 0 and that's a 0, then I'm finished, and I'll show you once we get to that point how we see that we're finished. Okay, and typically I'm going to want to do these in order. I'm going to want to get this one into a 0 first, then this one, and then this one. If you go out of order, sometimes you can run into lots of trouble. And if you go in order, then you don't. So let's just stick to that order, okay? And if you haven't seen these before, you know, just watch the whole thing first and maybe watch it again. So let's get started. So I want to first of all make this into a 0. Okay, I can't multiply a row by 0. I mean, yes, I did say that you can multiply or divide through by anything, but the thing is it's not going to help me. Okay, because then they all wipe out, and then I have nothing to work with. Instead, I'm going to take these two rows and I'm going to add them. And I'm going to replace this second row with the sum. Okay? So what I'm going to do is my next piece, and I am going to suggest to you that you really stay organized on these. Okay? One thing that really helps is to write down over here what you're doing. Add and replace, so that you can go back when you've made a mistake, if you've made a mistake, I should say, and you can see what you've done and you can check your work very easily this way. So if I'm adding those two rows and replacing that second row, my first and my third don't change. So I'm just going to write those the same way. Okay, I'm not going to change those yet. I'm just going to leave those two alone. Got my thing here. I'm going to add these. I'm going to add a 1 and a negative 1 for 0. And I'm replacing this row with the sum. I'm going to take a 2 and a 3 for 5. I'm going to take a 3 and a 5 for 8. And I'm going to take a 15 and a negative 1 for 14. Didn't leave myself a lot of room there, did I? Alright, so I'm going to add these two rows and I replace that row. So that's my goal, is to get these three numbers right here, 0 into zeros here. Alright, so I've got the first one. Now I'm going to work on this one. Okay? Well, what could I do? Well, let's take a look at what we've got here. I could take this row and subtract this row and replace it here, because 1 minus 1 is 0, then that would become a 0. I don't care about all the other numbers. All I care about is that these three become zeros. So I can do that. So here I'm going to say, see, it kind of gets messy. Subtract and replace. The game's not hard. It's knowing the rules. If you know the rules to any game, then we're set. We know the end goal, we're set. So again, I'm not going to mess with these two, so I'm just going to rewrite them just the way they are. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to say 1 minus 1 is 0. See how that works? 2 minus 1 is 1. 5 minus a negative 3 is like 5 plus 3, so we've got 8. Okay, be careful on those. And then 15 minus a negative 7. Okay, so 15 minus a negative 7 is like 15 plus 7, so we've got a 22 here. Okay, so far so good. We've got zeros here. Now I just got to work on this one. I've got to work on that one to get this one down into a 0. Well, what do I do with that? Well, I'm all out of adding and subtracting, because if I added these two rows here, I'm going to get a 3. If I add these two, I'm going to get a 6. If I add these two, I get a 7. So that doesn't work. Okay? So what I could do is, remember the first rule that I said is I can do anything that I want to any line as long as I do it to this all across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to multiply this row by a negative 5. This, 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 and this. Because then this becomes a negative 5. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. And then when I add these, it becomes a 0. So let's start there. Okay, now there's no right or wrong to these, and there's about 10 million different ways we could do these. So this is creativity at its finest when you talk about science, okay? I'm going to leave my first two rows alone, and I'm going to multiply every single term here by -5, and then I'm going to replace this row with that. Okay? So 0 times -5 is 0, which I want to keep that as a 0. 1 times -5 is -5. 8 times -5 is -40. And 22 times -5 is -110. Now don't be afraid to use your calculator, right? Okay, why did I do that? Because now I can add these two rows. So here I'm going to, I know this is starting to look really messy, but at least I've got something to work with when and if I make a mistake. I'm going to add those two. When I do this on paper or on the board, it looks a lot nicer. This tablet's hard to work with. It's like a skating rink with this pen. I feel like a kindergartner writing on it. So these first two I leave alone. And I'm going to be replacing this third row with the sum of these two rows. Okay? 0 plus 0 is 0. I want to keep that a 0. 5 plus a -5 is 0. Ooh, looking good. That's what I need. 8 plus a -40 is -32. Okay, use your calculator if you need to. And -110 and 14 and -110, okay, I'm adding these two rows here, is a -96. All right, so let's check that. We've got 14 minus 110, or plus a -110, same thing, -96. Okay, good. So now we're finished. Doesn't look like we're finished, but we are finished. Okay, we've got 0, 0, 0. Done. I don't care what any of these numbers are over here. They can be whatever they want to be. All right, so now we're going to go back into our XYZ form, and I'm going to work on the bottom row first. This is my X column, this is my Y column, this was my Z column, and this was my constant column. So I'm going to translate this last row with letters. What it says is -32Z's is equal to -96. Isn't that how we set it up before? We don't have any X's and Y's, so that's what this is. This is my Z column. I've got just the one variable I can solve. I'm going to divide through by -32 both sides. Z is, let's take this -96, and we want to divide through by -32, and we have 3. There's one answer. Okay? Now I go into this row. I have to work from the bottom row up, and I'm going to translate this one. All right? I've got 5Y's plus 8Z's is equal to 14. You see that? That's what that says. Well, Z, I know, is 3 because I just figured that out over here. Plus 8 times 3 gives me 14. So 5Y plus 24 is 14. Okay? Subtract 24 from both sides. Solving for Y now. So I have 5Y is equal to 14 minus 24 is a -10. Finally, I divide through by 5. So Y is -2. There's another answer. And finally, I'm going to go up to this top row. It's going to scooch down here. I'm going to re-put that in with my variables. So I have 1x plus 2y plus 5z's is 15. This is the only one I don't have. I know y is -2 and I know z is 3, so I'm going to put those in. Okay? 2 times -2 plus 5 times 3 is 15. So what do I have here? I have x minus 4. 2 times -2 is a -4 plus 15 is equal to 15. Okay? If I would subtract my 15 across, these get wiped out, and so do these. So now I have x minus 4 is equal to 0. Adding my 4 across gives me x is 4. So there's my ordered triple. 4, -2, and 3. Well, let's see if they work. Okay, I'm going to go all the way back up to my originals here. Okay, I'm going to write that down again. I've got 4, -2, and 3. All right, check this first one. See if it makes a true statement. We've got 4 plus 2 times -2 plus 5 times 3 has to equal 15. So it has to work in all three. Let's just, for ease of, just because things are going to get too long, I'm just going to use this calculator. Plus 2 times -2 plus 5 times 3. Okay, that one works. All right. I know you can do it by hand. Then I've got the second one to check. So I've got a -4, right? The opposite sign of 4 plus 3 times -2 plus 3 times 3. That has to equal -1. So let's use a calculator again. So we've got -4 plus 3 times -2 plus 3 times 3, -1. Perfect. Doing good. Come on. And finally, we'll check this last one. So we have x plus y minus 3 times, no, z is 3, so 3, that's a 3, is equal to -7. Let's check that one out. So 4 minus 2, that's like plus a negative, minus 3 times 3 gives me the -7. Just another way of doing the same thing that we just did in 9.1. Options, options, options. Now there's another way to do these where you get all the rest into, oh, never mind. I don't want to do that. So this is what we're sticking to. Okay? So let's try another one. Got to erase all of this. So I'm going to select all of this, delete it, and start over. Now if you understood that, great. You can skip to number 5. Number 5 is this. So we'll have to talk about that one. But we'll do one more. This one I like to do just because there's a 0 in here. Okay? Remember, zeros are numbers. Don't get freaked out by them. All right, so again, I'm just going to get this. No, I can't do that. Okay, I'm going to take the 1, 1, 1, 0, 4, 1, 4, -9, 1, 1, 0, 0. There's a 0z here. Okay, so we're going to have to put that 0 in there. Okay, so let's put our matrices together here with just the coefficients. So we have 1, 1, 1, 0, 4, 1, 4, -9, 1, 1, 0, 0. Just going to check that before I move forward. Does that look right? 1, 1, 1, 0, that looks good. 4, 1, 4, -9, 1, 1. We've got to have a 0 in the z spot, 0. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, again, same goal, 0, 0, 0. Okay, I have to get those pieces, the corners, into zeros. I want to do them in order, so I want to work on this one first. Okay, there's nothing that I can do straight out just by adding and subtracting any rows that's going to drop that down to a 0. So let's just say I want to make this into a -4 and then add them. That would make it into a 0. So that's my first step. I'm going to multiply by -4, everything. And I'm going to replace that row with the new row. Okay, so I'm replacing this one. So I'm going to multiply through and then replace. Everything gets multiplied by -4, so it's -4, -4, -4, 0. And these I'm going to leave alone. I'm not going to do anything with them right now. Try not to do more than one thing per matrice. Gosh, I get people that do 80 million things to this thing, and then it gets so messed up that you can't even see what you got going on. Okay? Now I'm going to add these two rows, and I'm going to replace the second row with the sum. So I'm replacing this one. So I'm adding these two rows and I'm replacing. So I want to leave this one alone. Now I want to leave this one alone. I'm going to add these two. So I've got -4 and 4 for 0, -4 and 1 for -3, -4 and 4 for 0, and 0 and -9 for -9. Okay? So far what I'm doing is getting this one to a 0. Now I'm working on this one. Alright? Again, I don't have anything to do here that's going to work, but if this was a 4, I could add this one and it would drop. So that's what my goal is here. I'm going to multiply all of these by 4. Okay? Let's see what we got here. Alright, so I'm going to leave this one alone. I am going to leave this one alone. And I'm going to multiply 1 times 4, 1 times 4, 0 times 4, 0 times 4. So it's 4, 4, 0, 0. Here's my equal sign. Okay. Remember, this is my x, my y, my z, my constants. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two, add, and I'll replace this line right here with that. Okay, so here I'm going to leave that one alone, and I want to leave that one alone. I wonder if you're liking these or just hating these. I don't know. -4 and 4 is 0. -4 and 4 is 0. Ooh, we got a double. Nice. -4 and 0 is -4. That's not a 4. And 0 is 0. So we replaced this row right here. So we got a good bang for our buck here. We've got all zeros, we're done. Okay, now we go back. I'm going to translate this row here. I've got -4z's is equal to 0. That's what this is saying if I go back to the variable form. Alright, divide through by -4. So we have z is equal to 0. There's one answer. 0 divided by -4 is 0. Okay? Now I'm going to go back to this row, which is even easier than before because I've got a 0 here on my z's. This row says -3y is equal to -9. I can solve that directly. Divide through by -3. So y is 3. There's my second answer. Now I'm going to go to this third row and translate that. That says negative 4x minus 4y minus 4z has to equal 0. Correct? Well, I know what y and z are, so I'm going to put those in. So negative 4x minus 4 times 3 minus 4 times 0 has to equal 0. This is gone. 4 times 0 is 0. Subtracting 0 doesn't affect it. Minus 4x minus 12 is equal to 0. So I'll add my 12 across. So I've got negative 4x is equal to 12. Divide through by negative 4. So x is equal to negative 3. And there's my ordered triple. Negative 3, 3, 0. And again, you'd want to check those before moving forward. Let's put them in here and be lazy. I like being lazy sometimes. As long as we know how to check, we know the concept of throwing it in each place here and checking for equivalency, which you would do on a quiz and a test, then we don't have to do it every single time for homework. But it's a really good thing to do if you're unsure about stuff too. So let's do this last one here. The problem here is we have not been given our equations. Yikes. So we have to write them. So that's going to be the hardest part here, is writing the equations out. And then actually it's not so bad. I did it again. I always forget to grab my pen. I always forget that it goes away. There's my pen. Okay. So read that one. We've got Fran. She's investing in banks. She has $274 at the end of the year because she put $3,200 into 3 different accounts. One account has a 7% return, another one has an 8% return, and the last one has a 9% return. Okay? So why wouldn't she put them all in the 9%? I don't know, but Fran's not the brightest bulb. All right, so she gets $274 at the end of the year. She's invested $3,200 total into these 3 different accounts. We've got some information here. She put $1,000 more in here than here. Maybe these are more risky. That's why we shouldn't say Fran's not smart. We don't know the whole story. So we want to know how much she invested at each rate. Okay? So let me raise this up so we have some room here and start writing. Okay, what is simple interest? That's the first question, isn't it? Simple interest, let's start here. Let's say I invest $1,000 at 10%. 10% is 0.1, okay? Remember when we have a percentage, the decimal is sitting here, we want to move it 2 to the left. So that's 0.1 as a decimal. Anytime I work with this as a math problem, I have to use it in decimal form. So let's see what we get at the end of the year, times 0.1. Okay, I would make $100 on that. All right, so this is what I would make at the end of the year if I invested $1,000 at 10%. At the end of the year, I'd get $100. Now that's different than a compound interest, things like that are compounding interest upon interest at a certain compounding rate and stuff. So these are very easy as far as interest goes. This is my principal or my dollar amount. This is my rate, and this is my interest that I get. So there's my formula. I've got, this is always considered your principal. Okay, so P times R is I. Okay, so there's your simple interest formula that you'll need. Okay? So let's start by saying X randomly is the principal that I invest in the 7% account, and Y is the principal or the amount of money that I'm going to invest in the 8% account, and Z will be the amount of money that I invest in at the 9% account. Okay, we have to label our variables. Okay, so from this right here, she invests $3,200 total. Well, there's one equation. However much she puts in the 7% plus however much she puts in the 8% plus however much she puts into the 9% account. These are dollar amounts now. Okay, so this is the principal that she's putting in. This all has to equal $3,200. Okay, so there's one equation for you. All right. Okay, let's look at this one right here. This is the amount that she earned. Okay, so the principal that she has, that she put in, times the rate in decimal form, remember I'm moving it over twice, plus the principal that she put into the 8% account times the rate. Okay, so this is principal times rate. Remember that? Hang on, right here, principal times rate. She's doing it 3 different times, so I've got to have 3 different principal and rates. Plus the principal that she puts into the 9% account times the rate as a decimal. Okay, so this is the interest she gets plus the interest she gets plus the interest she gets has to equal 274, because that's the total interest that she has at the end of the year. Okay? There's another equation. And now we're going to take this third piece right here, because that gives us a little bit of information. We know that she invested $1,000 more in this account than that account. Okay? So translating that, she's got $1,000 more invested here than there. So Z, however much she put into Z, is $1,000 more than what she put into the 8% account. That's another way of looking at that. This account has $1,000 more than this account. Isn't that what that says? Right there? All right, well that's a mess, but we've got our 3 equations, which is good. Okay, so now I'm going to start messing with these so that they look a little nicer. I'm going to first of all mess with this first one right here. This actually it's the second row, but I'm going to mess with this one. I don't like these decimals. I really don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply each piece by 100. And if I do the same thing to every term, remember, I can do whatever I want. So I'm going to take this 0.07 and multiply it by 100. Well, why am I doing that? Because I've got 2 decimals, so I want 2 zeros. So I want to multiply it by 100. So it turns into 7. So this will turn into 7x, 8y, 9z. Way nicer to work with. I also have to multiply this one by 100, so I'm going to have to add a couple zeros there. So let's do this. This is my first equation then. 7x plus 8y plus 9z has to equal 27,400. Okay, what I've done is I've multiplied by 100, by 100, by 100, by 100. I get this new equation, which is exactly the same, just 100 times bigger. Okay, this is a 4. All right, this one's pretty set. This one's really nice and neat, and that one I'm just going to actually throw in underneath there. I don't have to do anything with that one. Do you see how I'm stacking? Stacking my X column, my Y column, my Z column, my constant column. This one's a little mixed up, so we're going to have to move things around. Okay? I'm going to take and subtract. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it here. I want to subtract my Y term across. I want to get my terms over here, right? My letters over on this side. Okay, so what I have is minus y plus z. I'm going to go in alphabetical order because I have to stack, is equal to 1,000, right? My z was positive, my y is negative, so that's what this is. So translated over here would be 0 x's, because I don't have any there, minus y plus z equals 1,000. There's my matrice form, right? I can slap this into a matrice form now very easily because I've got them all stacked. I've got numbers in front of all of my letters. Nice and neat. Okay, so here we go. Let's translate. All right. This is 7, 8, 9, and 27,400. This is 1, 1, 1, 3,200. This is 0, minus 1, 1, and 1,000. Okay? Look at this. We've already got a 0 here. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. My first step is to get a 0 here. Okay? So I'm going to have to I'm going to work with these two. And I want to get this into a -7 so I can add. Okay? So that's my goal here, is to multiply by -7. Now, if yours aren't working out nice and neat like this, and you know, don't be afraid to play. Don't be afraid to try something, and if you get stuck, you start all over again. You know, mine are working out nice and neat because I've done these for 20, oh God, more than that. I've done these my whole life. I don't even want to say how old I am. Like I said before, making mistakes, you learn so much from making mistakes. Don't ever be afraid not to make mistakes. We all do them all the time. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these two rows alone. Okay? Multiplying this row by -7. Pretty easy until I get to that one. 3,200 times a -7. So I got -22.4. Big numbers here. That's okay. Okay, so here I replaced. Do you see how I'm really careful about writing down what I need to keep track of? For some reason, I didn't go all the way up to the top, so I'm going to run out of room down here. Darn it. Okay. Might have to erase some of the top and just translate it up there. All right, so now what am I going to do? Well, I want to add these two rows, and I'm going to replace this row with it. I'm done with the bottom already, so I'm going to have to move up. Move up, move up. All right, so I don't want to mess with these. Leave those alone. So I'm replacing. After I add, I replace. 7 and a -7 is 0. 8 and a -7 is 1. I'm adding. 9 and a -7 is 2. And here I've got, what do I have? I can look at that pretty quickly and say that's 5,000. Use your calculator if you need to. Okay? So I've got these two zeros, and now my goal is to get this one a 0. Well, look at this. If I added those two and replaced this whole row with that, that would work. Nice. So I'm going to add. Can I just do it over here? Because then I'm done. Let me squish it in. Or do I have enough room down here if I, hang on, let me see if I drag this up. Oh, I think I got enough. Oop, that didn't work. Ah! What did I do? Hang on, I gotta pause it. Be right back. Why is it doing that? I didn't pause it. Sometimes I think I pause it. It's a good thing I didn't swear or anything. Good Lord. All right. right. Maybe if I drag this down and then bring it back up. There we go. Okay. So I lost everything besides my calculator went away, my math lab went away. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to add. I'm still rolling here, aren't I? Yes, I am. Gotta be careful about that. Sometimes I hit that pause button and it doesn't pause. It's like, hello. Not that I swear a lot. Sometimes I do. Okay, I'm going to leave these two alone. I am going to add these two. Do you see how if I add a 0 and a 0, I'm going to get 0, and if I would work with these two, I wouldn't. I'd change that back to a 7. That's why I want to work with these two rows. 0 plus 0 is 0. 1 and a negative 1 is 0. 2 and 1 is 3. And 5,000 and 1,000 is 6,000. Here's my forgot to write that down. Replace. Okay, so here's my corner of zeros. Perfect. I'm done. All right, so I'm going to go to this last equation here and translate it back. It says that 3z is equal to 6,000, right? Divide through by 3. Divide through by 3. So z is 2,000. There's one answer. Then I go into this one. Okay, I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to see what that says. It says y plus 2 of z's has to equal 5,000. Right? Well, I know what z is. Z is 2,000, so I'm going to put that in. Okay, so this is 2 times 2,000 is 4,000. Subtract my 4,000 across. And what do I get? I get y is 1,000. So far we know that we've invested $1,000 in the 8% account and $2,000 in the 9% account. And this last one, the last variable that I need is the x in the 7% account. So I'm going to take this up. I'm just going to go up here. And I've got 7x plus 8y plus 9z's has to equal 27,400. Well, I know what y and z are. 7x plus 8 times y is what, 1,000? Plus 9 times 2,000. That looks like a 4. Is equal to 27,400. Getting really tight here. So let's multiply. So we've got 7x plus 8 times 1,000 is 8,000. 9 times 2,000 is 18,000. That has to equal 27,400. Okay? So now I'm going to take these two and subtract them across over here. So I'm going to take this 27,400 and subtract off the 8,000 and subtract off the 18,000. So then I'll have 7x is equal to, let's see, 27,400. Since they're both positive on the left, I would subtract them over. I just don't have enough room. 8,000 minus 18,000. So we've got 1,400. And the last thing to do is to divide through by 7. Okay, divide through by 7. 200 bucks. So you would go back through and see, did she invest $3,200? Well, 2,000 plus 1,000 plus 200 is 3,200, right? So that's good. The second parameter said, I lost it. The second parameter said that she invested 1,000 more in the Z account than the Y account. Well, yeah, that looks about right, right? And then I'd go back through and I'd see if the simple interest is adding up. Okay, I'd take that first equation, just where is it? Right here. And I would throw those numbers in there, X, Y, and Z, and see if it equals 274. Okay? So she invested $200 in the 7% account, right? She invested $1,000 in the 8% account, and she invested $2,000 in the 9% account. Okay? So, your choice on how you want to proceed with this. If you don't like matrices, you know, you're going to get the exact same answer working with the substitution method that we looked at in section 9.1. It tells you you're supposed to use this method, right? It says use this method. Well, if you get the same answer either way, I'm going to let you choose which method you like better because I can't check. In a normal class, I would say you have to show me one with elimination, you have to show me one with Gauss-Jordan matrices stuff, and then from there on you can choose. But here I don't have control over that, so just do whatever you feel more comfortable with. Section 9.3, we're going to be forced to work with matrices. We're going to be looking at the determinants and things like that, but they're not going to be big like this. They're not going to be humongo. So that's it for 9.2. Again, you only have 5 in your homework, but boy, these are really long, really long, especially if we're making mistakes. Then it's like, oh, then they're endless. So I have kept the homework to a minimum on these. So hang in there. You're doing really good. See you later.